Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances of Literature Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we will be discussing and reading and discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, verse 26, and the chapter is entitled The Departure of Lord Krishna to Dwarka. We will start with the invocation prayers and we will continue into the class. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Nittai Gaura Haribo, Haribo. Haribo, Nittai Gaura Haribol, Nittai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nittai Gaura Haribol. Jayam Vishnupat Paramhamsa Parivacharya Stotra Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupat Paramhamsa Parivacharya Stotra Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutala Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Atmane Sri Gaura Karunashnati Bhaktivedanta Namani. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutala Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyabari Paschatya Desha Tarani. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devam Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashta Prayeshta Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So as we mentioned, we will be reading, studying and learning from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, verse 26. I will chant the verse 3 times and I request devotees to please chant after me. Aho halam slagatanam yadokulam. Aho alam punyatamam madorvanam. Yadhesha pomsham rishpashriyapati svajanmana chankramanene chanchati. Aho halam slagyatamam yadokulam. Aho alam punyatamam madorvanam. Yadesha pomsham rishpashriyapati svajanmana chankramanena chanchati. Aho alam slagatamam yadokulam. Aho alam punyatamam madorvanam. Yadesha pomsham rishpashriyapati svajanmana chankramanena chanchati.
Aho alam slagyatamam yadokulam. Aho alam punyatmama madhorvanam. Yad esha pumsam rishabhashriyapati svajanmana chankramanena chanchati.
Aho alam slagyatamam yadokulam. Aho alam punya tamamatu vanam. Resha punsam rishabhashriyapati swajanmana chakramanena chanchati. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else would like to try? Okay, we will do the word for word translation. Aho, oh, alam, verily, shlagatamam, supremely glorified. Yadho, of King Yadu, Kulam, dynasty. Aho, oh, alam, verily, punyatamam, supremely virtuous. Madho vanam, the land of Mathura. Yat, because. Esha, this. Pumsam, of all the living beings. Rishba, supreme leader. Shreya, of the goddess of fortune. Pati, husband. Svajanmana, by his appearance. Chankramanena, by crawling. Chanchati, glories. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Oh, how supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land of Mathura, where the supreme leader of all living beings, the husband of the goddess of fortune, has taken his birth and wandered in his childhood. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna has expressively given a description of his transcendental appearance, disappearance, and activities. The Lord appears in a particular family or place by his inconceivable potency. He does not take his birth as a conditioned soul, quits his body, and accepts another body. His birth is like the appearance and disappearance of the sun. The sun arises on the eastern horizon, but that does not mean that the eastern horizon is the parent of the sun. The sun is existent in every part of the solar system, but he becomes visible at a scheduled time, and so also becomes invisible at another scheduled time. Similarly, the Lord appears in this universe like the sun and again leaves our sight at another time. He exists at all times and at every place, but by his causeless mercy, when he appears before us, we take it for granted that he has taken birth. Anyone who has understood this truth in terms of the statements of revealed scriptures certainly becomes liberated just after quitting the present body. Liberation is obtainable after many births and after great endeavor in patience and perseverance, in knowledge and renunciation. But simply by knowing in truth about the Lord's transcendental births and activities, one can get liberation at once. That is the verdict of the Bhagavad Gita. But those who are in the darkness of ignorance conclude that the Lord's birth and activities in the material world are similar to those of the ordinary living being. Such imperfect conclusions cannot give anyone liberation. His birth, therefore, in the family of the King Yadu as the son of King Vasudeva, and his transfer into the family of Nanda Maharaj in the land of Mathura are all transcendental arrangements made by the internal potency of the Lord. The fortunes of the Yadu dynasty and that of the inhabitants of the land of Mathura cannot be materially estimated. If simply by knowing the transcendental nature of the birth and activities of the Lord, one can get liberation easily, we can just imagine what is it in store for those who actually enjoy the company of the Lord in person as a family member or as a neighbor. All those who are fortunate enough to associate with the Lord, the husband of the goddess of fortune, certainly obtain something more than what is known as liberation. Therefore, rightly, the dynasty and the land are both ever glorious by the grace of the Lord. Om Maganyati Mirandhyasya Gyana Gyana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmalitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the translation again. Oh, how supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land of Mathura, where the supreme leader of all living beings, the husband of the goddess of fortune, has taken his birth and wandered in his childhood. As I was preparing this class, I was having a very nice realization that actually a blessing, I have to say, that Krishna is so kind that he allowed me to find a lecture that Srila Prabhupada gave on this topic. And the topic that stood out for me in this purport is liberation. Liberation in Krishna consciousness. And there's a beautiful lecture transcription, and I would like to share that everything that I will be speaking and sharing from is just repeating from Srila Prabhupada, literally from Srila Prabhupada. And what better way to just repeat the words of the founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and instead of me coming up with my reflections. So thank you for allowing me to share Srila Prabhupada's words. So Srila Prabhupada so nicely said that if we simply worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original person, we don't have to be fearful of being misled by anyone else. We just gotta just keep on worshiping the Lord, keep on worshiping the Lord. And initially, like any other conditioned soul, including myself, there will be some fear. Oh, what if someone says this? What if someone gives me something better? What if someone, misleads me? But Srila Prabhupada is saying is we just got to simply worship the Lord, and we don't have to be fearful. So as long as we are sincere in our worship to the Lord, always sincerely praying, I don't want to be misled. I don't want to be fearful. I just want to know you, right? I just want to believe in you. I just want to surrender myself to you. Please help me. And the more we pray sincerely and earnestly and worship the Supreme Lord, Srila Prabhupada guarantees we don't have to be fearful of this, of being misled by anyone else. He also continues to say that the Srimad Bhagavatam explains, and we have read, and I know I've shared this many times, that it's so beautiful and such a powerful reminder to us, like almost every single verse that we have read in Bhagavatam since the beginning of first canto, chapter 1, text 1 up until now. It speaks about the glories and the beauty and the potency of devotional service. So again, Srila Prabhupada is reminding us here that one can reach the perfection of life simply by devotional service. Just devotional service. The more we serve devotionally without any attachments, any personal desires and interest, any need for aspiration, recognition, and a pat on the back and so on and so forth. If we just serve because we want to serve the Lord and his devotees, we can reach to that level of perfection. We just have to just want to serve and not serve for any conditional reasons. Oh, if I serve, then I'll get this attention. Or, if I do this service because I need their help, so I'm going to do this service. It should not be that way. That is conditional devotional service. We have to just serve, right? Just serve. Just like if we look in today's times, today's world, right? Even in our material lives, why does the wife serve the husband? Why does the husband serve the wife? Why does the mother serve the children? Why does the children serve? They love the parent, they love the spouses, they love their whoever the person is in their life. And it's because they love the person simply, earnestly. And when they continue to do that, then that love and affection is not material. It's not conditional, We just serve because we care for the person. We love the person. We sincerely, earnestly do. So Srila Prabhupada says that the Srimad Bhagavatam explains, and we've seen it, that one can reach the perfection of life simply by devotional service. And we don't need to depend on any other process. We don't need to depend on any other mystic yogi process. We don't need to stand on our heads and do tapasya. We don't need to do any austerities. We don't need to even nothing. All we have to do is just serve and serve and serve. Sukadeva Goswami said, who was the original speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, he says that one can put an end to material life by one stroke, and that is devotional service. Just one stroke. Imagine that. Srila Prabhupada is telling us this, that Sukadeva Goswami said one can put an end to material life just by one stroke, and that is devotional service. There is no need for us to undergo any penance and austerity and practice, standing on one feet, like we said, going to the forest and sitting under a tree and just going in meditation, controlling the minds and senses, I have to give this much money to get this much back. We don't need to do anything. Srila Prabhupada is promising us. He has given us his word. We don't need to do anything. All we need to do is just one stroke. Simply by one stroke, Srila Prabhupada says, accepting Krishna consciousness, and simply by devotional service, one can rise to the perfection of life. What a beautiful reminder and promise by Srila Prabhupada. And if we look and read and study the life of Srila Prabhupada, that's exactly what he did. He came to America at the age of 70. If we think about today's time, someone who is in the age of 70, the last thing they'll think about is going to a foreign country and starting a movement with nothing, like with literally no money, no connection, no food, no clothing, no shelter, no friends, nothing. Sometimes, once in a while, when I'm listening to a lecture or reading a quote, or sometimes out of the blue, I would just imagine myself at the age of 70 going to a foreign country with nothing. And the first thing that comes to my mind is fear. Oh my God, how do I do that? And when we get fearful, the hair on the body stands on ends. That's exactly what I experienced. I said, but Srila Prabhupada did that. He had no fear. He had no fear. And just by one stroke, devotional service, and just by one stroke, accepting Krishna consciousness, and we all know Srila Prabhupada reached the highest perfection of life. He is a pure devotee of the Lord. He was sent by the Lord. And he didn't have to go through any penance. Just one stroke. He just took Krishna consciousness and he believed in it. And he had no fear. And that is the reason why. He even went through 2 heart attacks on the Jaladuta at the age of 69, 70. And still he didn't say, you know what, I'm going to take the return ship back to Calcutta. He didn't say that. In fact, he came on one way, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He never turned back. At the age of 70, after all, who are we? Can't even compare a size of a mustard seed to Srila Prabhupada. He had no fear, but he believed in the Lord. And with one stroke, accepting Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada gave a very nice analogy of a goldsmith and a blacksmith. And he says that a goldsmith uses a small hammer and tap, 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 the gold many times. But he says a blacksmith uses a large hammer, which with one stroke, his job is finished. And he says, this is the blacksmith's method. We take the big hammer of Bhakti Yoga and we finish up with one bang. He says, we finish up material life and end it. That's what Srila Prabhupada says. So he says that we have to use the blacksmith method. Take the big hammer and with Bhakti Yoga, he says, take the big hammer of Bhakti Yoga and finish it all with material life. This reminds me of Bhakti Swami pastime. I'm sure we all have heard it, but I would like to share it again because it's such a beautiful reminder to me, at least, when Bhakti Swami approached Srila Prabhupada, 1977, and Srila Prabhupada told him, you've given your life so many lifetimes to the material world, so many times. Just this lifetime, you give it to Krishna and finish it. Just this lifetime, give it all to Krishna and finish it. And Maharaj did just that. Just that one instruction, just that one big hammer from Srila Prabhupada, just that one sentence, Maharaj said, okay. And he gave his life, and we all know how his life was. He used the blacksmith method. He took the big hammer of Bhakti Yoga and finished material life, smashed it. We don't need any process. For example, today we hear so many kinds of process, this yoga, that yoga, all kinds of yoga. Yes, those yoga, is helpful to some extent, but it's not going to take us back to Godhead. That yoga is to help us physically, but it's not going to take us back to Godhead. Like we were mentioning, I believe, I don't know if it was Chandramauli Swami's class or another class from Srila Prabhupada. I'm trying to remember where, I think it was Srila Prabhupada's transcription that we heard on Wednesday, where Srila Prabhupada says that all these yoga systems that is out there in the material world is to help us to be fit and healthy, but at the same time, it helps us to be attached to the body. Yes, it is if it's helping us to be fit and healthy to serve the Lord, high in Bhakti Yoga, well and great. But if it's going to help us to be fit and healthy so that we can become more attached to our body and identify ourselves with the body, then that's not right. So Srila Prabhupada says, and he says, for instance, the Hatha Yoga process, he says you have to become strictly celibate, sit in the forest, body at a right angle, pressing your nose, this and that. He says, who can follow this instruction? He says, in this present age, that won't work. And then Srila Prabhupada said, that is the goldsmith method, where they take the hammer and they tap, tap here, they tap, tap here, they tap, tap here, little by little. He says, that won't work because our minds cannot stand still for a split of a second, what to speak of 1 minute. And then Srila Prabhupada says, the solution is to take the blacksmith hammer of Krishna consciousness and finish off all sinful reactions immediately. And what is that blacksmith hammer of Krishna consciousness? Accepting Krishna consciousness and devotional service. One stroke. Srila Prabhupada goes on to say, by devotional service, one can become a devotee of the Lord, Vasudeva Parayana, or Lord Krishna. In other words, he says we have to become lovers of Krishna. And we have to learn how to become lovers of Krishna. Again, going back to the material example, if a boy likes a girl or a girl likes a boy, and they want to be each other's lovers, what is the first thing they will do? They will learn, I have to learn this person's favorite food, this person's favorite color, this person's favorite flower, this person's favorite, sweets and desserts. And the lover, the boy or the girl will do anything to learn how to attract the love of the other partner. They will learn all kinds of strategies, all kinds of whatever, of how to become the other person's lover. A lover, of that person. Right? And we've gone through it. I mean, whenever we want to please somebody, boy, girl, girl, boy, they get flowers, they get gifts, favorite sweets, favorite desserts, favorite candies, favorite gifts, anything. Prabhupada is teaching us the same way here. We have to learn how to become lovers of Krishna. And what better way than devotional service? And we have heard that if we want to attract the Lord, perform devotional service. But perform devotional service not for sense gratification, not for ulterior motives, not for if I do this, I get that. And also not to perform service where we can be seen. That doesn't attract the Lord. What attracts the Lord is devotional service where he has to come find us. Oh, wow, look at that woman. Look at that man. Look at that boy. That is how we can become lovers of Krishna, is to take up Krishna consciousness, to take up devotional service. Srila Prabhupada says that if the world takes up Krishna consciousness, the planet will certainly be peaceful. But the earth is becoming very hellish quickly. Very, very hellish and very, very quick. Very, very quick. And he says that if this Krishna consciousness is not taken up, the hellish condition will advance and progress in education and economic development. I mean, we see it. We see it. It's all around us. It's 360 degrees. It's always around us. So he says it's very important that we take this movement seriously, try to understand its value, and share Krishna consciousness. And the best way to share it is Harinam Sankirtan. Harinam Sankirtan. That's the best way. That's what Srila Prabhupada did. When he came to New York in 1965, Tompkins Square Park, he sat under the tree, little gong, with no mic, just chanted the holy name. People were coming to him, dancing. All he did was just chant the holy name. And at the time, he didn't have any books. At least now we have so many books to distribute. At the time when Srila Prabhupada came, there was not a single book that he can give and distribute. All he did was chanted the holy name. He sat under the tree, had a gong or kirtan, he just did that. That's it. No mic system, no harmonium, no mridanga, nothing. And how many people he was able to captivate and capture just by the Harinam Sankirtan. So Srila Prabhupada is teaching us that in order for us, he's teaching us to become a lover of Krishna, one must engage in devotional service and take up the Krishna consciousness. take up Krishna consciousness and engage in devotional service. That is what attracts the Lord. That is what attracts the Lord. If we look at the sun, right now it's kind of like wet and gloomy and rainy outside. The sun is hidden somewhere. But on a normal fine day, when the sun immediately rises, it kind of dissipates the mist and the fog and the darkness. Srila Prabhupada says that is how the sun of Krishna should rise within our hearts. Just as how the morning sun wakes up and brightens the day and, removes the darkness and removes the mist and the fog and the dew, he says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is stated that Krishna is like the sun, and the sun of Krishna should rise within our hearts so that Maya, which is the darkness, can disappear, can really disappear. Without following this process, it's very difficult to overcome the ocean of darkness, Maya. Very, very, very difficult. We can't do it on our own. We need help. And this reminds me of the prayers to the spiritual master, Sri Guru Vandana. One of my favorite verses is and I like the English translation, which makes 10 times more meaning to me, because that's how my brain works. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He's my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. Mercy of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is the one that can remove the darkness, the blindness, and the ignorance in us, and show us the path to Krishna consciousness. Show us the path of how to become lovers of Krishna. Show us the path of how to engage in devotional service without a dint of material desires, gratification, attachment, recognition. It's only by the mercy of the spiritual master. Without the mercy of the spiritual master, it's very difficult to follow this process. It's very difficult to even surrender to the Lord. Because the reason is very difficult is because we will come with our own ulterior motives, with a shopping list, right? I will surrender, but I need this one. It's very difficult. It's only by the mercy of the Guru that we can really understand how to surrender, how to become a lover of Krishna, how we can take up Krishna consciousness. And it's only by the mercy of the spiritual master that he will help us to understand that the more we go on chanting, the more the darkness of many, many, many lifetimes is removed. Right? We've heard Cheto Darapana Marjanam. By chanting, one cleanses the dust of the mirror of his mind and heart. Not from only this lifetime, many, many, many lifetimes. And we don't even know the lifetimes we've had. We don't even know the lifetimes that we have lived and gone through. Imagine if we knew. It'd be pretty scary. It'll be pretty scary. Like, oh my God, But Krishna is so kind that he has removed that from our memory, and that he has given us the holy name. You just keep chanting this Cheto Darpana Marjanam. You just keep chanting and cleaning your hearts from the dust accumulated for so many lifetimes. Just keep on, he says. Then one will know, who am I? What am I? Who is God? Where is God? And what is my relationship with God in this world? And how should I execute my duties in this world? And how can I become Krishna conscious? All this knowledge is not taught in school. In school, all they teach us is how to manufacture and destroy. How to manufacture and how to destroy. Just for our sense gratification. But in school, they don't teach us how to get out of this bondage. None of the subjects teach us that. It just teaches us how to become more and more attached and more grounded in material sense gratification, more and more, the attached. It doesn't teach us how to get out of it. It's only by the mercy of the spiritual master. And because he's the representative of Krishna. He's the representative of the Lord. And it's only by the mercy of the Lord that we will even really understand how hard we're struggling in this life. We try so hard to dominate the material nature, but we don't even know that whatever we try to dominate, at the end, we can't claim proprietorship of it. It can be taken away from us. We are so ignorant. We're so ignorant that we are not even aware that living in this material world, the law of karma plays a big role. Law of action and reaction. Whatever we do, there must be a reaction by which we become entangled. That is a law of karma in this material world. Srila Prabhupada was quoting an example back in the 60s. He says that at that time, there were some engineers who wanted to design an airplane that can fly at great speeds without danger. And they did create the plane that can fly at very, very high speed without danger. But what happened is when the plane started to fly, it was going through so high speed that it was breaking the windows all over the city, meaning the buildings in the cities, their windows were being shattered because of this plane that was going at high speed. They didn't think about that. So Srila Prabhupada says, our time is being wasted in constructing so many devices to give us temporary and artificial convenience. That's the law of karma. We think we can do it and it's going to be perfect. No, it always breaks down. But when Krishna creates and designs, it's always perfect. Always perfect. So here, Srila Prabhupada is reminding us and recommending that we engage in devotional service. The more we engage in devotional service, the more we will be liberated and transferred to the spiritual world. It's only by devotional service. The more we do devotional service, the more it's going to clean us of many, many lifetimes pile up of sinful activities, which we don't even know how many lifetimes it has been. But we just got to keep at it. Just got to keep at it. And devotional service is our liberation. Krishna consciousness is our liberation. And the whole process is to clean ourselves from the contamination of sinful and material life. Imagine if someone says, if you want to get out of this prison, this is what you have to do. I don't know how many prisoners will jump at that opportunity. We are in a prison with invisible walls, as Chandramauli Swami said yesterday. We are in a prison, we are in a jailhouse, we are in parole, that's the word he used. We are on parole, right? And whatever we do while on parole, if we do it right, then we will get liberated. So whatever we do during parole, it better be Krishna consciousness and devotional service. Then we will get liberated. Sukadev Goswami said that those who are sinful can be purified from contamination by practicing austerity. However, he also said that no one can become completely purified by executing the process of austerity. And why is that so? Because there are so many examples of yogis who practice austerity, but they could not completely purely emerge. We have the famous example of Vishwamitra Muni, who was a Kshatriya. He wanted to become a Brahmana, and therefore he practiced austerity. And later on, what happened? He became a victim of Menaka, a society girl from the heavenly planets. And because Vishwamitra Muni was not pure, Srila Prabhupada said, he became entangled with her and got a child. So therefore, Prabhupada says that even if one performs austerities and penances, worldly circumstances are so implicating that somehow or the other, we will get involved again and again and again. So we got the simplest and the quickest method, devotional service, Krishna consciousness, very simple. We don't have to go through, any kind of austerity and tapasya and what have you. We just have to take our Krishna consciousness and devotional service, and everything will be fine. That is, when I think about it, like, wow, how merciful is Krishna and Srila Prabhupada taking the trouble to get on the Jaladuta, to come to America at the age of 70, to give us the simple and sublime method of getting out of this material world and never coming back, just taking our Krishna consciousness and devotional service. What mercy. I mean, Srila Prabhupada could have just stayed back in India and said, you know what, I'm not traveling on that ship. It's too much headache. I'm 70 years old. I'm an old man. I got this problem. I got that problem. I got this health problem. He could just have many excuses. He says, that place is hellish. America's just LSD world. Forget it. He never said that. He really took the words of the spiritual master, inconvenienced himself with zero now, with nothing, just to give us the simple method. And Srila Prabhupada is requesting, and in this lecture transcription, Srila Prabhupada ended his lecture and he says, now you all take up Krishna consciousness. And then he said, which is a matchless gift bestowed upon suffering humanity by the Lord himself. And then he says, simply by engaging in this process, all the anxieties and fears of one life will be gone. That was his request. And he literally called it the matchless gift. And we know the famous matchless gift, 26 2nd Avenue in New York. It's a matchless gift. That's where it all started in 1965, 66. That's where it all started, was 26 2nd Avenue, matchless gift. And Srila Prabhupada is so kind, so loving, so merciful to bring us the simple method of how to get out of this material world, which is our liberation, which is the true liberation, is in Krishna consciousness and performing devotional service. So this was what I got from Srila Prabhupada's lecture. As I said, everything here that I have shared is from Srila Prabhupada's transcription on liberation in Krishna consciousness, the matchless gift. Thank you so much for allowing me to share Srila Prabhupada's words. We will read the translation again. Oh, how supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land of Mathura, where the supreme leader of all living beings, the husband of the goddess of fortune, has taken his birth and wandered in his childhood. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Would like to ask devotees, if you have any questions, any comments, any takeaways, please do share. Would like to hear your takeaways so I can also learn from your reflections.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
This Bhagavad Srila Prabhupada. Very nice lecture. As you said, you took it right from Srila Prabhupada's own lecture.
Mhm.
Thank you for reminding us the importance of devotional service. The only way, and Krishna himself has said, Bhakti Mama Abhijanati, by devotional service can I be known. And we want to know him and love him. So every lecture that talks or stresses devotional service is extremely important to us. And so that is my appreciation. And Cheto Dapana Madhanam, cleansing the mirror of one's dirt accumulated for lifetimes. Again, devotional service is what does.
Yes.
So thank you for reminding us and stressing it actually in this particular lecture. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing your reflection. As you were sharing your reflection, I was thinking, what would my life, I'll speak for myself. What would my life be without service? And sometimes, once in a while, when I get very overwhelmed with work and, temple service, and when I get a lot on my plate and I just need like a moment or two, and I'll sit down and I'll ask myself, where would I be now without service? And boy, did the excuses come. Oh, you'll be doing this, you'll be doing that, all. And I said, but will I be happy? And I said, and just from that reflection, I said, no, it will be, if anything, is going to mess me up big time. And I said, oh God, no, devotional service, thank you for keeping me overwhelmed. It's a very scary thought, at least for me, when I try to reflect and ask myself and imagine life without service. And when I see what's it like without service, I get so scared. Because it's completely making me fall into the trap of Maya. And I was like, oh my God, this is scary. But yes, devotional service is our food for life, I think. Thank you. Yes, Mother Geeta, please, Mother.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. Praise to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
First of all, thank you so much for again reminding us the importance of devotional service and in what attitude should it be performed.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking while you were speaking that if we really want to perform devotional service for Krishna, then we can start by first serving the devotees
Yes.
in that attitude, and then go on to the spiritual master by following his instructions, and then be qualified to serve Srila Prabhupada, and then finally Lord Krishna. So I also have a question that talking about service, what should a devotee do if, first of all, is it okay to push oneself to the limit physically to do service? Or I don't know how to draw the line to see, how much service is required for purification? Thank you.
That's a very nice question, Mother, because I've asked that question to myself many, many times. Firstly, Mother, I love how you actually listed the step-by-step process of performing devotional service. First to the devotees, then to the spiritual master, then to Srila Prabhupada, then to Krishna. And as you were speaking, that's how I was trained. Now that as you were speaking, I said, wait, but that is how I was trained, in my devotional life, was first serve the devotees. And then after that, we were able to cook for our spiritual master, and then after the cooking sometime, then we were able to iron the guru's clothes. And after that, they said, okay, now you can do, even with Prabhupada, I remember, Mother, in Gitanagari, we would start off first with wiping his Vyasasan and changing his water cups. That's it. Then after we get qualified by the seniors, will tell us, okay, now you can iron Prabhupada's dhoti. Then after that, it's like a step, it's like a ladder process. So thank you, Mother, so much for bringing that ladder process. I think it's really, really critical that we go in that step, because it's a step-by-step gradual process, really relishing and understanding the meaning of devotional service. Thank you, Mother. And in terms of the extent of performing devotional service, from my experience, Mother, because I have been in a situation where devotional service can burn us out, as they say. And when devotional service gets to the point when we are burnt out, one can leave spiritual practice very quickly. And I have also learned that, especially for new devotees, it's a gradual process, just like how you listed the ladder process. I think it's beautifully said. It has to be a step-by-step process, and it cannot be a choking experience. But I do know that there are a lot of senior devotees who have so much on their plate, and they don't know where to draw the line. And what has helped me, Mother, is I had to admit to myself, there's something that I learned about 10 years ago, that if I can't do it, I will just say I can't do it because my plate is full, and I should not feel guilty about it. I should not beat up myself. I should not, cry over it, but be real. But at the same time, help that person to see if someone else can do that service, if I cannot do it. That's what's coming to my mind, because I've been in that situation many times, and it took the help of my God sisters to help me how to learn to say no. But at the same time, we can't say no because I want to go to the movies. Or something that is materially related, or as an excuse kind of a thing. But genuinely, that person is very, very swamped and very, very busy, and they really, really can't do it. Then they should just say, this is what is on my plate. It's quite a bit of service. I really can't take up any more, but I'm willing to help to see someone else can do it, because it's going to burn me out. Like, we had to be very honest with ourselves and know and recognize how much we can take and be honest about it. I don't know if I answered your question, Mother. Probably you can add more to it.
Yes, thank you so much. So that brings about another question. How to learn to say no?
Mother, oh my God, it took me years. Mother, unfortunately, I had to learn to say no the hard way. Unfortunately. Interestingly, it took a toll on my heart. It took a toll on my life. Actually, I was actually admitted in the hospital with a heart condition that helped, that it took me that to that extent to learn to say no, unfortunately. But I wouldn't advise to wait till that point. But I think I think the reason, Mother, that devotees in general have a hard time saying no is because they think that by saying no is by letting a devotee down, or by letting Krishna down, or by disappointing someone. I think what will help for us to learn to say no is to recognize our limitations, is to recognize how much we can go, and to also be genuine and honest about it. At the same time, if we can do it, probably to help that person to find help. Okay, I can do it, but is there a way that I can help you to find someone to do that service rather than me do it? But I think we have to be honest, and I think that has been a challenge for devotees I've seen in ISKCON. Like, we don't know our boundaries. And the reason we don't know our boundaries is because we are not connected with ourselves. That's one thing I had to learn the hard way, is we're not connected to ourselves. We are not in tune to ourselves. And we also don't give a balance to ourselves. Like, we just go every day, but there isn't a time in a week where we do something different. Like, for me, like, I go every day, unfortunately, but this is a crazy excuse. I mean, a crazy reason. But for me, Saturday morning grocery shopping is my bona fide Maya time. Because I get out of the house, I go do my grocery, and I like doing groceries. So I go to the grocery store and I get the grocery. Like, that is my time. That's my me time, And sometimes I think as devotees, we forget to give me time. And during the week, we have to find some time to give the me time, to be very in tune to ourselves, very connected with ourselves, and really communicate with ourselves, and to know what our limitations are, what are our boundaries, and that we can go to after the certain point. And what I've also learned, Mother, is that the more we take care of ourselves personally, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, like they call the me time. I think when we start giving me time to ourselves, it somehow balances how much service we can take. Like, it doesn't burn us out. I don't know if I'm making sense here, but I find that the more I give the more I take care of myself, the more I'm able to give more. That's now it's coming up. So the more I take care of myself and find a balance and in tune to myself, the more I'm able to give service. I don't know if I'm making sense, Mother.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mother. Any questions, any points from devotees, any thoughts, any reflections, any questions? And if there isn't, a quick reminder, two reminders. One is this evening we have our Bhagavad Gita Circle reading program at 6 o'clock. We are in chapter 6, so we request devotees to please join. Such a wonderful reading, such nice sharing. So we request devotees to please join us at 6 o'clock. And this Sunday, we have a very nice Mother's Day program for all mothers this Sunday at our temple. So we request devotees, please do come out. And if you have friends who are mothers that would like to be part of our Mother's Day program and attend the temple program this Sunday, please do come. We have the youth that are cooking the feast for the mothers along with their dads. So please, it's a time for mothers to come and hear, sit down and hear, and really engage our minds while the fathers and the children will cook the feast, the Sunday feast program this Sunday. Until then, Vancha Kaptibhyascha Kripa Sindhabevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mother Gita.
Hare